What's up, guys? It is RGT85. We have a lot of video game news to talk about today, so we're going to skip the intro. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and be sure to like the video. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games, and we're going to start things off with a bit of a hot topic, and that is Metroid Dread. Oh my god, RGT's talking about Metroid Dread again. Look, I want the game to do well. I want the game to be successful. If I didn't want this game to do well, I wouldn't have put my money where my mouth is and picked up the special edition of this game to have in my collection, and also planning on picking up a digital edition of this game to play when it releases. Yes, I've put $150 into Metroid Dread already, and who knows, it could expand more if I decide to pick up the amiibo. I just like to talk about the Metroid franchise because I feel like people put it up on this pedestal, but when you look at the actual sales of the games thus far, no game has ever managed to crack 3 million copies. Now, if you pay attention to the Spawncast and things like that, you would know that I currently have a bet where if Metroid Dread sells 3 million copies in its first year, I will have to play Balan Wonderworld from start to finish and do a review on the game. And if it comes to that, it comes to that. Metroid fans put their money where their mouth is and actually went out and supported this game, and Nintendo did a good enough job to get this game a larger reach and a larger audience. Well, so far, Metroid Dread, everything that we've seen from sales indications seems to be very positive. We've talked, of course, about the fact that Metroid Dread is the #1 selling video game over on Amazon, and now another company has come out and said that post E3 this is their most pre-ordered game, and that company is GameStop. Yes, Metroid Dread is currently #1 in terms of new pre-orders for post E3 game announcements according to GameStop, and GameStop is one of the largest video game distributors in the United States. So obviously there is hype for this game, and I feel like it's going to do well. I just don't know if it's going to be able to crack that 3 million in the first year, because the diehard Metroid fans are going to buy this game. That's why I bought 2 copies of this game. I am a diehard Metroid fan. Just looking at the game statistically speaking though, it's never been a really huge popular franchise for Nintendo. So it's a video that we did a couple days ago on the channel. If you want to get more in depth as to why I think Metroid Dread might struggle to hit that 3 million in its first year, make sure you guys check that out. It's not a hate speech against Metroid. Like, I love Metroid. I want to see this game become successful, and I think that early indicators are showing that it will probably be more successful than Samus Returns. But I mean, Samus Returns only sold like 500,000 copies on a 75 million unit install system with the Nintendo 3DS, so the expectations aren't all that high right now. But I think Metroid Dread is going to be a fantastic game. I cannot wait for it when it comes out on October 8th. It'll just be very interesting to see how the sales of this game go, but early indicators show that the game is doing well. Do you think Metroid Dread will be able to crack 3 million in its first year? And if so, where do you see it falling? Let me know in the comment section down below. But do remember that Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze that came over to the Nintendo Switch did not manage to hit 3 million in its first year, and still hasn't hit 3 million, because I think that's kind of interesting when you think about it. Next up, there's an interesting PS5 leak that's been going around the internet that I think on the surface level looks great, but the more you think about it, the more kind of shady it does seem, and it sort of shows what Sony is doing with this console generation. Now, this information is coming to us from a French leaker by the name of Souls Hunt, who correctly predicted that Team Ninja was working on a Final Fantasy game, which of course ended up becoming Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. Now, there is a demo of that game available on the PlayStation 5. I don't know if you guys have checked out that demo, but oof, like that's just, it's not a good game. It's not a good looking game. The gameplay isn't all that great either. It's a very, very interesting game, but we're not here to talk about that game. We're here to talk about this new leak. And this new leak involves one of the more popular PlayStation 4 games that a lot of people want to see on the PlayStation 5, and that is Bloodborne. Now, admittedly, I never played Bloodborne. It's not really my style of game. If you guys know anything about me, the Souls games aren't really my style. If I want some sort of difficulty, I'll play like Ninja Gaiden or something like that, and then people say, well, if you could play Ninja Gaiden, why don't you play Souls? I don't know. I just like Ninja Gaiden better because it's a little bit faster. But Bloodborne does seem like an interesting enough game because it is a bit faster than the Souls games. But this is a game that a lot of people have been wanting to see come over to the PlayStation 5, because on the PlayStation 4, it was locked at 30 frames per second. Well, according to this French leaker, Bloodborne is indeed coming to the PlayStation 5 and will be running at 60 frames per second with up to 4K graphics. Now, on the surface level, that's very interesting. But the more I think about it, the more kind of strange it gets, because according to this leaker, this isn't going to be an upgrade patch for the original Bloodborne. It'll actually be a re-release of Bloodborne on the PlayStation 5, meaning that more than likely you're going to have that $70 price tag. And I think that's very interesting, because I feel like this game could just get a patch to run better on the PlayStation 5. We have seen it with games like Days Gone that of course got a performance patch when you downloaded the game and played it on your PlayStation 5. Of course, Xbox is doing it with a ton of their games. You know, even Bethesda games now are getting free performance upgrade patches. Doom Eternal is getting a patch to run it up to 120 frames per second on the Xbox Series X, but it seems like Sony doesn't necessarily want that to happen with Bloodborne. They want this game to actually get a re-release on the PlayStation 5 with all these bells and whistles. So I think it'll be interesting to see how the reception is to it if this leak does end up becoming true. Like I said, this individual Souls Hunt on Twitter has a very good track record, so it seems like this is something that is going to happen. I'm sure the game will also come to PC as well, considering the fact that Bloodborne has been out for a very long time on the PlayStation 4, and Sony kind of does that with their titles. They move them over to the PC after a few years or so. But I think it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with Bloodborne. If they don't go with a patch for the game and instead just re-release the game on the PlayStation 5, how will it sell, and will people be happy with this decision when you have companies like Xbox, who of course are just doing these patches for free? How would you sort of react to this though? Let me know in the comment section down below. Next up, Skyward Sword HD is of course coming to the Nintendo Switch next month, and many people are looking forward to this game because I guess a lot of people didn't play it on the Wii. Now, if you know anything about me, you would know that Skyward Sword was actually the only mainline Legend of Zelda game that I've never completed because I just didn't like those motion controls. And, you know, it's sort of a polarizing game. I think you could put it right alongside a game like Zelda 2, where people have very boisterous opinions on this game, whether they love it or they hate it. And, you know, it's one of those sorts of Zelda games that you don't really see all that often. Usually Zelda games are universally loved. Well, Skyward Sword HD, like I said, is having some improvements done on the Nintendo Switch version of the game. We know about things like 60 frames per second, which I think is going to enhance the experience overall. Of course, this is the HD version of the game, so textures and visuals will look crisper as well. And the button controls is the main thing for me because of the fact that, well, I just didn't like those mandatory motion controls with the Wiimote, you know, making it with the sword. Like, it was cool, but like after a while, I just got tired of it. But it seems like there's going to be some quality of life improvements according to the Legend of Zelda official website as well. Now, we know about some quality of life improvements that are of course hidden behind an amiibo. In order to teleport to the sky at any point in time, which is actually a very nice feature, you have to have the Skyloft amiibo that costs $25, and of course it's already being scalped on eBay and places like that. You're not going to get your hands on it. But it seems like there's more stuff coming to quality of life improvements with Skyward Sword HD that we don't quite know about. On this little website that Nintendo put up, it says that there will be refinements to player tutorials and general guidance through the adventure. Now, if you know anything about Skyward Sword and you played the original Skyward Sword, you know what this is actually talking about, and that is Fi. Now, people hate Navi and Ocarina of Time. Hey, listen! But like, compared to Fi and Skyward Sword, Navi is a saint because Fi is constantly talking to you. Fi is constantly telling you things. Fi is constantly helping you with puzzles when you don't necessarily want help within the game. So I feel like this to me is sort of, you know, diminishing Fi's impact in the overall game. Now, of course, Fi is a very important character in the game because, you know, they play an integral role in the story, but I feel like for the gameplay aspects, they could definitely scale back Fi a bit. Now, another quality of life improvement I would like to see is when you're opening a chest, because every time you open a chest in the game, even if it's just like 1 rupee, like it does like this little cutscene. I hope they get rid of that as well, or at least give you the ability to skip it, because it does sort of bog down the game, and I think that would be a really good quality of life improvement. I think this is good news for Skyward Sword HD. It is kind of interesting that they didn't sort of break down what these quality of life improvements are, but I do think that they will function in with the overall game and definitely help things out, because Fi can just be a pain in the ass sometimes. And finally, Nintendo has outlined their 2021 and a little bit beyond with the Nintendo Switch, and I just want to go over this infographic really quickly with you guys because Man, there's a lot of bangers coming out on the Nintendo Switch, and there is a lot of money to be spent. So in this little infographic, they start things off with games that are already available. You already know about these games, so we're going to skip those games. Of course, getting into summer 2021, we have games like Mario Golf Super Rush, which I am picking up, Monster Hunter Stories 2, which is another game I'm picking up, Skyward Sword HD, which is another game I'm picking up, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. I've already pre-ordered the game and preloaded it on my Nintendo Switch. Of course, there's games like Legend of Mana, which just came out today on the Nintendo Switch. I believe it came out today. Maybe it comes out on the 24th. You have Neo, The World Ends With You as well. No More Heroes 3. Then going into the fall, we have Metroid Dread. We have Diablo 2, Super Monkey Ball, Banana Mania, Sonic Colors, WarioWare. Like, things are getting very crazy. Looking at the holiday lineup as well, we got Mario Party Superstars. We have Advance Wars 1 and 2. We have the Pokemon remakes, Shin Megami Tensei 5, which I think is surprising a lot of people as far as the quality of the game is concerned. And then we get into the 2022 stuff. Now, do I think this is the final lineup for Nintendo Switch games for 2021, including first-party games? I do not. I honestly think that there's going to be at least one more game announced from Nintendo between now and the end of the year that will end up coming out in 2021. I don't really have any sort of insight information with this, but I do feel like we're going to get another Nintendo Direct, as we usually get one around the month of September. Of course, there could be sort of special directs for games that we don't know about as well. But if you look at how Nintendo historically does things with E3, usually they keep like one or two secrets at hand, and then that game ends up releasing later on in the year. So I definitely don't think this is the complete lineup of games. Of course, there's also third-party games to talk about as well, but it is a very, very stacked lineup. And then, of course, we have 2022. We have Splatoon 3. We have Pokemon Arceus. We have Project Triangle Strategy. We have Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope. But wait, where's Breath of the Wild 2? I mean, we just learned that Breath of the Wild 2 was coming out in 2022, right? It is supposed to come out in 2022. It was said that it was coming out in 2022 during their E3 trailer for the game. So why isn't it included on this list? Now, you might be saying, well, RGT, maybe this list is old, but actually it's from this morning. June 22nd is when Nintendo of America put this list out. So that, to me, is very, very interesting, because maybe Breath of the Wild 2 isn't a complete lock for 2022. Now, you might be saying, well, you know, some of these games have release dates. You know, Pokemon Arceus has a release date, but Splatoon 3 doesn't have a release date. Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope doesn't have a release date. Hell, Project Triangle Strategy doesn't even have an official name yet. It's still under the Project Triangle name. So I don't know how to think about this. You know, is Breath of the Wild 2 actually going to be a 2022 game? It's very strange that it was left off this list, because obviously Nintendo is coming out and saying, yo, we got some bangers on our system. We've got great first-party titles, we have great console exclusives, and then we also have a myriad of third-party games that you might be interested in as well. But to leave Breath of the Wild 2 off of this list is very strange to me. So does that say something about the development of the game? I guess time will tell with this. But obviously, 2021 is looking very strong for the Nintendo Switch, and these are just the games that we know about. I mean, it's still only June. There could be a lot more surprises to come in 2021. Alrighty, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know what you think of everything in the comments section down below. Obviously, we covered a lot of different topics in this video, so I like to do these sort of things. Yes, the PlayStation 5 topic sort of sticks out like a sore thumb for some people, but hey, I like to talk about PlayStation stuff. I like to talk about Xbox stuff. I'm trying to condition you guys to be interested in the PlayStation and Xbox stuff as well, so that I can talk about it more. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like and share the video if you enjoyed it. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.